Yes, hello, and welcome to Radio FM 8 out of Australia as we go live via the radio as well as YouTube platform, Facebook platforms, and where are we going to go with the subject, Jeff? I'm going to go to the point that right above me in the totem pole, right at the very top, none other than Andrena Forrest, and she'll be presenting our guest tonight, or today for Lemon Thursday morning, from the UK herself. And so, Andrena, take it away.
Hi, excuse me. Good morning, everybody. And today is the 13th of October, 2022. It's a number 2 day. So I came across Anna-Louise Haigh, who is our guest today. I saw something and I thought, wow, that's really interesting. I've not heard that before. So I sent her a message and here we are. So welcome, Anna-Louise, who's coming all the way from Harrogate today. So you're a face whisperer, soul whisperer, and you've written lots of books. I've heard of horse whisperer and dog whisperer and all sorts of other whispers, but I've never heard of a face whisperer. So I would love for you to share how you started your journey, the stepping stones along the way to where we are today and what you're offering.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me to be here. I am really, really delighted. So before we get going, I know we're kind of already a global community here. My accent's Canadian, just in case anybody's wondering, mixed with a bit of Yorkshire as well. So my journey into this amazing adventure that has become face whispering began 35 years ago when I first was doing my clinical aromatherapy training. And we had a very short introduction to what was called face reading. And what I loved about it was that it was based on looking at the face and being able to interpret and understand somebody's inner well-being situation. And on our course, we had to do a consultation, a silent consultation with a volunteer and assess what their well-being needs would be before creating an oil mix. And that was quite a daunting thing. Back then, I was a very shy 27-year-old, and the whole idea of doing this was fascinating, but at the same time, mildly terrifying. However, I got hooked. And what I loved about it is not only is that it obviously had a lot of insight and accurate potential, but it also drew on Chinese medical philosophy. And that's something that since a child, I have been drawn to the Orient. So I'm quite sure I've had several past lives in that area. And ultimately, becoming qualified as a clinical aromatherapist and then a reflexologist, my career was built on giving really solid, effective treatments. And obviously, any therapist wants to do the best for their clients and wants to get those results so that the clients get what they need quickly, but also recommend you. And what I started doing is using my face reading skills, as they were termed then, to help understand the deeper healing needs of my clients so I could direct my treatments to their unspoken needs. Now, face reading is all about looking at the facial features, not the expressions, and interpreting them against a known catalog of understanding, shall we say. And original face reading, traditional face reading, goes back to the ancient Chinese when they use it as a verbal tradition. And through that verbal tradition, many, many understandings were created about what different features meant in correlation with personal behavior, beliefs, psychology, well-being, character, and career potential, and so on. And it was very much a social skill that was handed down through generations, and also business people or community leaders would use face reading to understand the people who wanted to be in their organization or in their community, to know whether they were going to be a good fit. So it was quite an observational skill, which had a very practical application. Now, originally, there was no books. It was, like I say, it was all a verbal tradition. And how face reading originally got to be so reputable is because the Chinese love to observe. They love to stare. And through that staring and the inquisitiveness, they were able to start to correlate a particular feature with a particular personality trait or health trait and so on. And so this didn't all come together overnight. It will have taken hundreds of years to collect this highly accurate encyclopedia of observational knowledge. And face reading has survived till today. It's still used in Chinese medical diagnosis. It is a very popular interest for a lot of people who are involved in the healing and well-being world. Now, for me, my enthusiasm took me faster than I could find anything to reference. So I basically started doing what the Chinese did all those thousands of years ago and taught myself my own reading system based on the small introduction I'd had, and used the opportunity to observe thousands and thousands of clients based on what I was hearing with their physical consultation, telling me why they wanted a treatment, but also looking at their face and paralleling an aspect of their face with a part of their personality or their well-being needs or their attitudes and so on. And so I'm lucky enough to have had a very strong, thriving career for the 35 years. And that means I've had a lot of opportunity to observe faces and fine-tune the understandings that I've arrived at and try out the accuracy. And so along the way, I've developed my own way of teaching, my own courses. And ultimately, because the work that I now do as a soul whisperer, I've taken the original face reading depth and expanded that to include more of the soul awareness for personal growth and awakening, to help people find their authenticity and their calling in life. And so for me, soul whispering, face whispering even, face whispering is all about nourishing the wisdom that's waiting within to serve the mind, body, heart, and soul. And so it's not just a practical skill, it is a personal growth skill, and it's a spiritual development skill as well. So face whispering is my contribution to the evolution and awareness of something which is time-honored and still long-serving. And after all this time, I am still as excited as the first day I was introduced to it, because I love what it does.
Brilliant.
So that's how I got here.
Can I ask, excuse me, obviously, I was just thinking, like, if you were going for a job and you were a panel of face readers, like, you'd just look at somebody and you think, definitely not, go on, without even without giving them an interview. But so when people come to you and they say, oh, I've got terrible neck ache or backache or whatever, but you can look at them and think, that's not what's going on for you, and this is where you address the underlying issue, because like, we all have had different things going on with our bodies and we think that's related to that. But I know, like, you've got hand reflexology, and you've got all the points on your hands, you've got it on your ears, you've got it on your feet. So I mean, I did know there was somebody that did something similar in Australia, face readings, but this is taking it into a different category, isn't it? Sounds fascinating.
It is fascinating, and there are different expressions of original face reading, and I would imagine, such as myself, who spent a long time developing the system that I teach now, that each person's take on face reading has their own expression and their own experience put upon it. But yes, I like to teach very much metaphorically. So when we're trying to understand what's going on with ourselves or with somebody else, we can have an easy recollection as to what the meaning might be. So you mentioned somebody might have a lower back problem and so on. In my way of using face whispering, then what I would be looking at are signs of whether this person is habitually the type of person who's got poor boundaries and doesn't say no, and therefore takes on the burdens of the world, that basically is very good at self-denial and doesn't give themselves a break or even the sweets and treats in life. And while that may have an initial physical representation as a pain in the body, ultimately it could go organ deep and become something with symptoms that the body really is crying out for attention, not only at that point physically, but also we're now looking mentally, emotionally, and spiritually as well. So we're looking at the whole character and how all the energy of the thoughts and the being translate into that person's life experience as a well-being from a well-being perspective, but also from a life enjoyment perspective. And of course, let's not forget about the soul messages that want to come through.
Yeah. No, that would be even more fascinating for me, because I think, you know, most of us are working, clearing, and so do you get would you be aware of like any ancestor stuff that is holding that person back because they can't clear it because it's back along the line of Uncle Tom Cobley and all sort of thing?
That can certainly come through. Yeah. I mean, what face whispering does is, for somebody who's learning, and this is something it's taught me basically, and let me just say, I am still a student of face whispering. I learn something every day or get something reinforced every day that guarantees that what I'm seeing is accurate and so on. Ancestral stuff can very much be portrayed in eye color, and that can denote how the person's well-being may shape up. Now, what I should say is that face whispering, and in fact face reading, as I know it, isn't a psychic skill. It's not going to be drawing in messages from the spirits and so on. However, when face whispering is embarked upon and you learn the basics and then start practicing, because of being able to gauge how a feature fits on a scale of average to extreme one way or extreme the other way, and asking yourself, what am I seeing? How does this part fit on that scale? You start to open up your communication channels with your own intuition. And over time, with practice, your intuition starts to speak more loudly to you, and you can start to trust it, try out your observations and so on. So it makes it fun, but also it's purposeful and helpful. And the big bonus is you are growing confidence in your intuition, which doesn't stop at face whispering, because once that channel's open, of course, then somebody can learn to trust and have confidence in their intuitional skills to apply to every other part of their lives. And, you know, it just, the benefits just keep on giving.
So when somebody comes to you for face reading, and you say it relates to this, and this, so how do you treat them from then onwards?
Right. So the way I do a face whispering is to start by taking an overview of the person's face, just really a scan. Now, with delivering a face reading, you want the person's face to be literally straight at you, no expression, and like a passport photo, really, but not with that grim energy on it. And with what I do is take an overview of the face and I start to read from top to bottom. And that way it gives my mind chance to settle in and get to see what needs to be seen without kind of frantically trying to see everything at once. When I have identified a part of the face that is comment worthy, because face whispering isn't a medical diagnostic skill, you have to use your language carefully. And the way I like to help people know more about themselves is to introduce them to the feature that I'm looking at and align it with its significance, and then add in what they can do about the potential that significance is showing. So if I see a sign where somebody's got, where somebody, for argument's sake, is burning the candle at both ends and their body is showing signs of real stress, exhaustion, then I would want to guide them from a well-being perspective and a lifestyle perspective to look at things like their coffee, their alcohol, their additives, their diet, their exercise, and how they manage their stress. Because stress, I find, as we all know, is one of the most common things we all suffer from, but we tend to put it aside because it's so common. And then we experience the reality, the big reality of it all. I do have some pictures that I hope we can get to, which will help us understand more about this.
That'd be great.
And then I can be teaching while we're here.
Fabulous.
Okay. So Jeff, do you have picture number 1? Perfect. Now, so what I will say is that the first thing I often teach is about eyebrows, because eyebrows are really easy to see, and we've all got them, and it's something that you can look at a glance. You see, with face whispering, you're not trying to stare at somebody and make them feel weird. You're taking glancing looks to gather the information that you can get. Now, on a note on eyebrows, I know that we all, well, us women, like to groom them and manipulate them and tattoo them and all sorts, and that's going across. Everybody seems to be attending to their eyebrows these days.
That's true. You sometimes see people coming along and all you spot is the eyebrows first.
Exactly.
I have to say, at the later stages of life, whereas I used to pluck mine all the time, I got a job to find mine now. I've got to pencil them in.
It's an evolution, isn't it, really?
Definitely.
So the reason why the reason why I bring eyebrows to our awareness, even though they've got this kind of tendency to be manipulated, is because what we are reading is the length, particularly in this case, and the top line, not the underside, but the top line. But let's look at the length first of all. In an ideal eyebrow, the length of the eyebrow should reach just about down to the corner of the eye. That's a normal length eyebrow. And basically, what we can see here with this image is that it certainly isn't at that level. Now, we're gonna assume that this person has not over-groomed their eyebrow, and that literally the eyebrow has become so short through their own lifestyle choices. So what happens is that the eyebrows, when we are overstressed, running on adrenal exhaustion, when we are over exaggerating our kidney function through the stressy mindset, putting the pressure up and so on, the kidneys basically are called your sea of vitality. That's what they're called in Chinese medicine. And they're like your batteries that you're born with. And so your batteries will naturally run down over time, but you can slow down how those kidney batteries run down by your exercise, by your food, by your mindset. But when the kidneys and adrenal glands start to suffer through stress, poor diet, junk food, too many stimulants, too much, real frenzy in the head, and that go, go, go lifestyle, then what happens is the kidney energy starts to dwindle more quickly, and the kidneys need some help. They need to be recharged or gather whatever help they can. And believe it or not, the hair on the body is associated with your kidney and adrenal energy. And so when the kidneys are struggling and they need to call on whatever help they can get, they pull back the energy from the hair, and in particular the eyebrows, and therefore there's no energy left to hold the eyebrow hairs in place, and they start to drop out from the far tail end towards the middle. And maybe you've known people who go through a really bad stress phase, or they have a massive shock and their hair suddenly starts to fall. It's the same kidney energy that we're talking about. So that picture that we had up, the girl's eyebrow was incredibly short, and that, to me, if I read that as a reading opportunity, I would presume that her lifestyle needed some adjustment. And obviously you're talking to the person when you're doing a face whispering, but it's not talking to prompt to find out things that before you understand a feature. It's about confirming and then guiding.
Interesting. Eyebrows never look the same.
No, they won't. And the thing is that, we like to, this is all part of our personal grooming and how we like to present ourselves. So when we have the opportunity to do something minor but effective, we do tend to do things with our eyebrows or our hair and so on. It's an easy, quick thing to do. There are different shapes of eyebrows which tell me a lot about the person as well. So, Jeff, if you wouldn't mind putting up picture number 2. Now, this lovely lady, she has got what I call rainbow eyebrows. They are nicely arched, and this is a gentle arc. Some people's eyebrows are very arched, and I've noticed, Andrena, that yours are nicely arched as well, actually. So that is that helps me get to know you quite quickly, actually.
Oh,
and you
tell me
see,
more.
oh, I'm going to, don't worry.
Oh, right.
So this is what I call a rainbow eyebrow. Okay. Now, as I said before, it would be quite normal to groom for this picture for that underneath of the eyebrow to be groomed, but the top level just to be tidied up tightly or slightly. And what that reveals is the arcing shape. A rainbow eyebrow, like this picture and like you, Andrena, is indicative of somebody who's got both feet firmly on the ground, and yet with that security and comfort, they are able to surf the upper ideas of spirituality, higher consciousness, connect with the universe, with spirit, with otherworldly energies. And it doesn't mean that just because somebody has rainbow eyebrows, they have to be this way, but it denotes an open-mindedness and a willingness to explore and to look with optimism as to what life can bring. So a rainbow eyebrow person is very much somebody who I encounter an awful lot in my teachings and in my community and so on, because we're all like-minded. We are surfing the rainbow to find more hope and optimism and positive energy and abundance in the world. We're spiritually minded, and that's what the rainbow eyebrow tells me an awful lot of. How does that fit with you, Andrena?
Yeah, totally.
There we go. Cool. Hope you don't mind me just jumping in there.
No, not at all.
Marvelous. Now, this particular picture, by contrast, this person has what I would call straight eyebrows. I know they hook down a little bit at the end, but we're reading the main body of the eyebrow. Straight eyebrowed people are much more practical, and they like logical process thinking. They're not so given to the spiritual mindsets or explorations. However, I have known it with clients and students of mine who started out with eyebrows that were very distinctly straight, that as they have expanded and opened their mind out to other pursuits on a personal and spiritual growth level, their eyebrow top line starts to define itself in more of a rainbow. And I never would have thought that, but I've seen it happen before my eyes over a period of a couple of years working with a few clients specifically. So somebody with a straight, flat eyebrows is going to be very focused. They're great at doing whatever task they are set to. They don't necessarily have the interest in spiritual growth, although there's always that human curiosity which takes us all in different directions. And what you'll see here, just another little point, with this particular person, you'll see that there's quite a gap between the inner ends of the eyebrows. And that leaves quite a wide space. And this is what I would say is indicative of somebody who's got a really strong constitution. In other words, they don't get all the flus and colds and grumbles that are going around. Whereas somebody with a very thin bridge of their nose would be more susceptible. And it's just a sign of their strength of their immunity.
We'll all be going out looking at everybody's eyebrows today.
That's what I want. That's what I want. That's why I'm showing you this. Yeah, brilliant. And then we've got this chap here. Now, he is a different set of eyebrows altogether, and there's lots we can read with this chap. So what I should say is that face whispering is non-gender specific. It is accurate over any culture or ethnicity, because what you do is you take if you're working with one particular ethnicity of people, you would take a lot of observations and determine what is kind of the average most common, and then what is exaggerated one direction more maybe and larger, and what is exaggerated a different direction or diminished a different direction. And that is very much where the whole idea of a scale comes in. So I like to look at the average and get a good idea, and then I can bounce off of that and see where somebody fits in that scale. And that's how you start to build your questioning and intuition. This chap here is very much, he's got what I call mountain eyebrows. So if you can see on the very top, his eyebrows have a peak and they're very full. So this fullness tells me that he's got very good vitality. He's got a lot of energy reserves. He looks after his energy well. His eyebrows, in terms of length, are pretty good. They're not totally as long as I would like them to be, but they are pretty good. So that validates the bushiness, the fullness of his eyebrows. And then we've got the mountain style, which has got that peak in the top, in the middle. And that tells me that these people, yes, they're very grounded. Like a mountain, they might be a bit stubborn. However, they are ambitious. They are questing. Think of a mountain. What is a mountain like? It's there to be climbed. It's beckoning. It wants to be explored. And these are people with mountain eyebrows love to explore new information, particularly as they reach more into themselves to learn more about themselves, to actually then expand their personal and spiritual awareness of themselves. And then what comes next? Following your passions, learning more about what you're meant to be doing in this life, creating better relationships because you know yourself better. So this particular chap gives us quite a lot to work with. And I really like this picture from this angle. So from there, one of the things that really catches my eye is when somebody has these very coarse hairs, like this chap here. Now, I know he's got lots of facial hair and so on. Did you spot the mountain eyebrows? These are, again, a really good example, but he's also got these really coarse hairs. And it's not just coarse random hairs are not just a feature of age. They are a feature of excessive adrenal function. So this is indicative of somebody who is really on the hamster wheel, very stressed in their head, probably on the go all the time, and supplementing their lack of innate energy with all the stimulants and so on. I've seen random coarse eyebrows on women as young as 27. And this is partly to do with hormonal, and of course your adrenal glands are part of your hormonal system. So when I see the random coarse hairs, I take a look at, well, how old is this person and what is their lifestyle like? If I see it on a young woman or a younger person, I'm wondering whether their hormones are in balance, wondering whether their lifestyle is in balance or not. And ultimately, the kind of guidance I would be giving is for them to look at those two aspects and engage in perhaps some lifestyle adjustment, a lifestyle audit, to actually be able to let the body fuel itself properly so that there's no imbalances which may later cause a bigger problem. So every face tells lots of stories. It's like reading a book.
Don't they just?
Yeah, definitely. So this chap here, again, now we're going to start to put different things together. He's got the straight eyebrows, which tells us again that he's very practical, very logical, and so on. He's got a very broad, so a very wide forehead and quite a high forehead. So I would say that this chap is very broad-minded and open-minded. And although his hairline might be receding, it's very much the case that the sides are still very much full and intact. So that does denote somebody who likes to be in their headspace, somebody who is a thinker, who prefers maybe analytical quests, academic quests, and so on. And if I was reading this, if somebody came to me, if this person came to me just fresh and, let's have a face reading, let's see what you can tell me about me, I would want to guide them towards looking at where they get their greatest enjoyment from their intellectual pursuits. Because within this particular face, what I'm seeing is another feature, which is what I call the hooded eyelids. So this is where the flap of skin above the eyelid drops down and rests on the eyelid or rests on the eyelashes. And that is indicative of somebody who is very private, who puts other people first, often is a great listener, but doesn't follow their own pursuits as keenly as perhaps they should. So from a helpful perspective, I would want to give this chap the nudge to take some time and look at what really brought his world alight, and make sure that he balanced that with how he engages with other people around him. So now this one, it makes me laugh. It's, yes, she's wearing a witch's outfit, but it's it was Halloween. It's coming up to Halloween. Why not? This again is a perfect example of the mountain eyebrows, this time on a woman's face. And it shows the defined line. Yes, these eyebrows are really short. So it tells me in combination that this person is burning the candle too much at both ends, and they are not replenishing their own energy. It tells me also that she is given to more spiritual pursuits, questing and learning and advancing herself through all kinds of self-awareness and perhaps meditation, and getting away from the earthly heaviness around her. This girl, you can actually see her eyelids, which tells me that she's very open. She's more extrovert than introvert. And as that becomes her kind of presence, then people will naturally gravitate to her because they'll find her charming, they'll find her engaging and warm. And from there, her natural warm character can start to flood out. So you see how layers start to come together, and we build up a reading or a whispering in ways that can create a full story. I guess that's why I originally called face reading.
Fascinating.
So, yeah. So, right. Do you have any questions?
No, but I was thinking about the eyelids, because my eyelids used to be like that, but with aging and going down the line, they obviously start to droop. So I suppose that tells another story.
It does tell another story, definitely. Yeah. The story it tells is basically of one of life wisdom and life experience. And as what I find is, yes, naturally, you could easily say that the eyelids the top of the eyelid does droop down on the skin above. And what I find is that does happen even in younger people without the aging process.
Really? Oh.
And from there, what I understand from that is that the people who've got, like you said yourself, and I've got that to a degree myself, through life's challenges and experience, we learn more about the wisdom we hold and the enrichment of that, and thus the balance between how much we speak and how much we listen, how much we are forthcoming, and how much we give people space to be themselves, and if it's necessary, offload towards us. And so I do find that when I see that trait that most people write off as being aging, it is actually very much a sign of the wisdom that's gathering within is being more Buddha-like, shall we say.
Yeah, makes sense.
Oh, an ear. I love ears. I absolutely love ears. Thanks, Jeff.
That looks a young ear.
It's kind of young. Yeah, it's kind of young. The thing is with ears is that they do, as some will know, and it's drawn from another correlation between the body and the face. The ears represent the fetus upside down. So the lobe is the head, and the spine is the rim of the ear. Did you know that every person's ear is unique to them, as unique as a fingerprint? And it's a way of identifying people if necessary. But why I chose this picture is because of the plumpness of the lobe. Now, in Chinese face reading, a plump lobe that hangs independent from the side of the face is a sign of good wealth and luck coming your way. They would say it's like a little bag of gold coins, and the bigger the lobe, the better. The more Buddha-like, the better, which is, ideal, really. I don't tend to say to people, oh, yes, you're going to have tons of money coming your way, quick, go do the lottery or anything like that. What I like to attribute this kind of lobe to is, first of all, good health, longevity, But also from a soul perspective, when I see this earlobe, I know that when the owner of those ears can tune into what really makes their heart sing, what they feel naturally called to do, and they take a risk and follow it, then they will have the rewards which would naturally follow. And so when I look at any entrepreneur who's followed their calling, whether it's been in a commercial sense or in a spiritual sense, one of the key attributes I notice more often than not is a very plump, full earlobe. And so that to me is a really great trait. And in China, they actually sit and pull their earlobes to try and get them to be longer. So they want plump, full earlobes. I've spent a lot of time in China. It's fascinating, and
Right.
it is just it's just great to be able to practice face reading in a culture where it is the norm.
So what about like myself? I've got earrings in. So does that play a big part in the ear reading, or not really?
Well, they do say that any piercings anywhere on the body could well be going through a meridian point. And so our energy is slightly disturbed from that perspective, but the energy adapts, basically. It is said that the most influential piercing that one can have is the one through the tongue, because that's going through main meridians, and it's when the ball that they put on the tongue connects in the roof of the mouth. That's actually creating a different kind of circuit in the body energetically. So yeah, I mean, I've got piercings as well, ear piercings. And who knew back then? Like, who knew when you're 16 that this was a thing?
Yeah, exactly.
But your body adapts and grows for it. And the thing is, like with face whispering, although each feature is like a chapter in the book of you, you don't read just one chapter of a book and think you know the whole story. So with face whispering, every feature adds to that story, and one feature doesn't tell the whole story. So even one of my early teachings, I had a section on criminology and looking at public pictures of people who've done really horrific things. And you might think, well, they're a bad person and they've done all this bad stuff. Yet with a face whispering, there are positive attributes about that person, which helps us understand that they aren't necessarily bad people, perhaps, but they do bad things. And so it's about understanding the person at their core, and then what took them to that place, and how can we help now if possible.
Brilliant.
So one thing I didn't mention on the chap with the beard, if we have that picture again.
Which one?
Please, Jeff.
Which one, the old guy or the young guy?
The younger guy, sorry.
I'd like to say the only piercing I've got is my ears. End of story.
Yeah, I'm traditional like that too. So we got onto ears earlier on. With this chap, you'll notice how his ears are distinctly angled outwards, particularly at the top. And these are kind of like pixie ears, and they don't look so tremendously big compared to the rest of his head. When I see these ears, I know that the person who owns them has got a deep, mischievous streak to them. They are playful. They love their nature time, but they'll be the practical jokesters. They'll be the one who wants to make other people laugh and have a cheeky go at being the prankster. Ears are so indicative of inner core character. And so when we see ears that are tremendously flat towards the head, then that person is somebody who is very much moving forward in life and not really taking time to pay attention around them. They're literally flying, like streamline through life. Whereas somebody with these more like pixie ears, the ears that tip out at the top, then they are going to look for opportunities to bring joy and happiness, but have fun. And so they're great to have in a social group and so on. And you know, sometimes when I'm mentoring people, I spot these ears straight away. And then I hear the story of life's become dull, life becomes boring, I've lost my way. And the self-awareness of just saying, well, you know, you were born with this attribute. It's one that in your core, in your soul, you are here to enjoy and express. How could you do that? How can you rekindle that part of yourself? And what happens immediately is, I forgot about that. And I think what happens is we get so entrenched in our everyday lives, our should do, could do's, must do's, that we forget the simpler things. We forget what lights us up from inside. And with that, there's so much that can be reawoken from within that face whispering can reveal, as you've seen.
I just had to laugh at Andrew's comment up there.
Yeah, it's all that.
That says it all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, possibly so. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, your fella King Charles has got some interesting.
Yeah, I thought of that, Charlie ears.
Yep. And yes, ears do say a lot about a person. And the longer the ear, it is said the longer the ear, the longer the life. So if somebody, if the listeners are sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, I've got tiny weeny ears, remember, one feature doesn't tell the whole story. But look at how your ears do represent reflect on the proportion of the side of your face, basically.
I'm gonna have to take a picture of my ears and have a look.
Yeah. Well, often when I'm teaching, people then run immediately to the mirror and like looking at all things that need to be found out. So yeah.
Okay. Right. What we got? Noses next.
Noses. Well, we can look at noses, definitely.
Oh, no, whatever your numbers. I know you got them in sequence.
Yeah. No, that's great. If we went back to well, let's go back to the guy we just had with the pixie ears. Let's just go back to him again.
Oh, hang on a sec. Pixie ears.
I'm sure if I ever met this person, he'd really be happy that I called him pixie ears.
Yeah. I would say, they must have been a gnome or a pixie in a past life.
Yeah. Okay, so when we're looking at noses, then this chap in particular, we look at three things with noses. First of all, the bulb, the round bit at the very end. How round is it, or pointy? We look at the width from one side of the nostrils to the next. And then we look at how we can see the visible nostril holes. This chap, to me, has got a lovely, nice, rounded bulb of his nose, which tells me that he's kind-hearted, generous, caring, and very giving. Now, we've already seen a trait of that with the visible eyelids, so we're getting confirmation now. The width from side to side of the nostrils is something that tells us about one's generosity and how kind-hearted and open-hearted they are. This chap, I would say, is incredibly kind-hearted because the width is quite significant. It's not extreme for the style of face, but it is quite significant compared to a much smaller face, that perhaps a much smaller nose, which would have very slim nostrils. And what we can tell about him, because we can't see the holes of the nostril so clearly, what we know then is that he looks after his energy, his money, and his time. In other words, he's kind and generous, but he'll have good boundaries. And the thing is that the nose is, if you think of it like a running tap, if we don't have good boundaries, then we're going to let all of our good stuff flow away. The more visible the nostrils, the more open the tap. And we've already had a picture where I could show you this again, which I'll go back to in a minute. But for this chap, I would say that if I'm reading him from top to bottom, then I would, let's say if we look at the start at the forehead, I would say he's got a very broad mind. He's quite open-minded. And the reason why I say quite open-minded is because his hairline dips slightly down onto the front of the forehead. So if you think about your forehead as being a window on the world, he's got a nice oblong window, but it's got a little bit of a shade pulling down on it. So he's broad-minded and quite open-minded. He's got his mountain eyebrows, which show that he's information seeking and questing. He likes intellectual pursuits, and yet his eyebrows aren't so short, so he does balance his life energy out well. He's got good, clear, visible eyelids, which means he's very open, perhaps an extrovert. And with those pixie ears, yep, he probably is going to be a bit of an extrovert. From there, his nose tells us that he is kind and generous and very giving, but he guards his own boundaries well, which will confirm why we've got good full eyebrows. He's, again, balancing his energy. And if we're going to carry on, then the lips are nice and full. This denotes that he's got a good functioning digestive system, and that, again, he is very generous, very kind, very caring. The only concern I would have here is that because he's got all these traits of being so kind, caring, and generous, maybe he gives too much of himself at times and then has to backtrack and see to his own needs. So this chap's a really good one for lots of insights that we can gather from him.
Mm.
If we have, Jeff, if we could have, let me see now, picture with the witchy hat, the girl with the witch's hat, please. There we are. Okay, thank you. So do you see how for her nose, I know she's got a slimmer face, but her flare of her nostrils from side to side is quite tight. And the bulb of her nose is still nicely round, but her nostrils, compared to how others with a similar face size, her nostrils are quite slim. And a nostril flare, I mean, is quite slim. And what that says is that she's a bit less generous with her time and energy. However, we can, looking straight at her, we can see her nostril holes. And so, although she may be quite lacking in enthusing and generosity for others, this visibility here with at the underneath of the nose tells me that she can spend her money dead easily, and that she's probably more going to look after her own needs first than she is going to look after somebody else's. How would I approach that in a whispering, in a reading, is basically to find that balance between looking after yourself and being available and open to others, to be that good friend, to be that good family member, and to know that it's okay to trust that what you give out, you do get back, and trust in the laws of the universe. So that could be a nudge forward for her, because she's got the mountain eyebrows, which say she's interested in developing herself, but this is how we can give her a little nudge to help her explore that part of herself.
Fascinating.
Okay. So is there anything else that I can help with face whispering? Any questions, or anybody's asked or anything?
I think Andrew asked a question earlier.
In positive body language, lifted eyebrows and uncrossed arms promote. Yeah, they do. Yeah, definitely, because it's an aspect of openness. So, and it's unblocking the chakras, and it's unblocking the energy of the face. And the thing is, for anybody who's interested in body language or anything like that, then face whispering is the ideal companion to that, which goes deeper because it's looking at the possibility of making subtle but powerful changes which honor the inner being, honor the inner self, and give that all-rounded nourishment to personal and spiritual growth.
So do people sometimes send you a photo, or is it mainly live?
I have in the past done face whisperings from a photo. It is quite easy to do, because what you need is a photo that is straight, completely straight, no expression, and good lighting. Even the slightest tip up can cause a difference to what's being read. But yes, doing live face readings, I love doing live face readings, and so I've done those over Zoom and so on, and that's always insightful. And of course, on Zoom it can be recorded. So I've just seen a question pop up, which is a really fantastic one. What happens if you've changed the shape of your nose? That is a brilliant question, and it's one that kind of opens up the whole aspect of what if you've had other augmentations on your face or to your face. So in terms of changing the shape of your nose, it often is for cosmetic reasons, which is obviously going to help with confidence and self-awareness and so on. What I do is I read what is presented to me. So if you've changed the shape of your nose, the core attributes of yourself are still there. However, they can be married in conjunction with what is now appearing. So you get the face you were born with and the face you grow into, if you like. And I know, the way the face is created is such a miracle in embryology. And it's the only place on the body where muscles attach from bone to the underneath of the skin, which is why we can make all our facial expressions. And because of that, the face has such a deep core representation of the inner self, the well-being, the organ function, the soul qualities, and so on, because everything is energy. And how I understand, or I've come to understand, why the face is such a powerful place to read is because we take in all this information through our senses. We percolate it in our mind, and some of it drops down into our body as beliefs or pain or emotions or growth-oriented wisdoms. And it all percolates, it all drops down. And if energy is held long and strong, it starts to rest and accumulate in particular organs. And then what happens is it percolates back upwards. And this is how face reading and face whispering honor what's going on within, because the evidence is rising up as energy rises naturally, and it etches itself on the face. So in some cases, your face can be a history book of what's gone on with you. In other cases, it can be an awareness tool for what's happening now that maybe you're not aware of inside. And it can be a full personal growth tool to open up the inquiry of what happens inside from a soul perspective.
Andrew's on top form today.
Yeah.
Right. Is it true some dog owners' faces end up looking like their dogs? Well, I've seen a lot of people that look like their dogs, or the dogs look like them.
I think there's a subconscious choosing there.
Yeah.
Often.
What about cheekbones? Because I've got very high cheekbones. So what does cheekbones in the great scheme of things?
Cheekbones are very representative of your tribe and your connection with your tribe. It's all about honoring the family you're born into. So people with high cheekbones have a very strong family connection. They will protect, they will go that extra mile because the connection is so strong. And also people with high cheekbones have a strong sense of themselves, so that they are quite able to stand in their own power naturally and easily. For people who've got quite low cheekbones, these people may well find it hard to stand in their power, to be forthright within their family, or to be protective of their family. And so with that, I know some people have their cheekbones manipulated and, made more of and so on. And what I find fascinating is when people do have augmentations to their face, what it is they're trying to say about themselves, what they're trying, the impression they're trying to give. And often it's a case of trying to be more confident and more present and easier with community or with groups and so on. So when we look at face whispering, it's about how can we help somebody have that innate confidence. And that, in the experience that I offer, is drawn through knowing yourself from that deep core level and remembering what gifts and talents, or rediscovering what gifts and talents you were born with that are waiting to serve you in this lifetime, that represent the wisdom, the message, the gifts and such that the soul you host has brought to you, so that you can live that fulfillment with ease and with a genuine openness that is natural and feels completely natural. Andrew, any tips for boosting kidney and adrenal health? Yep, definitely, Andrew. First of all, look at, if you've spotted your eyebrows are falling away from the far end, or you've got your coarse eyebrow hairs going on. First of all, look at the practicalities. Are you getting enough sleep? What's going on in your mindset? Are you churning around in your head all the time and causing yourself a lot of mental stress? Is there a lot of emotional stress going on? And then looking at the mindset part of it, then look at your intake. So your intake includes what kind of information and headline chasing is happening. Are you consuming too much drama from the outside world, from social media, from the news, from the kind of programs you watch? What about your dietary intake? Looking at coffee, tea, alcohol, stimulants, soft drinks, and so on. All of these charge the adrenal glands, and particularly sugar and anything with a sugar substitute supercharges your adrenal glands and causes them to kick into fight or flight. And so it's a bit about lifestyle. It's about self-awareness. It's some cases about clicking the off button and walking away from the drama that's being presented to you and getting yourself out in nature, maybe meditating, finding that rebalance. And of course, if you're an active person, then exercise is brilliant to actually burn off some of that energy so it's not churning around and around and around in your body. That's the big thing. All of this energy that's caused from what we perceive and what we put in ends up churning and over baking the kidney and adrenal glands. And that's where the problem comes in. When you can express that energy and reduce the input, then you're going to start to help yourself amazingly. Now, what I haven't mentioned, of course, is keeping really well hydrated. And for a lot of people, that may seem like a big challenge. They do say to drink 2 liters of water a day. And what I see people doing is basically grabbing their glass, chucking it down, gulping it, thinking, well, that's a bit done. I don't have to do that much more anymore. And then in 2 minutes' time, they're on the loo. And it all becomes quite a frustrating scenario. The secret to properly hydrating yourself is to sip it, small mouthfuls, and it will stay with you. Because if you gulp it, it goes through you. So sip it, it stays, gulp it, it goes. And when you can combine proper hydration with dietary modification, with balance of exercise or stillness time, and cutting off the supercharged drama aspects of your input from the media and the headlines and so on, and deal with whatever churns around in your head in a productive way, maybe by writing it out, journaling it out, getting practical, physical, creative, then your body is going to become this energy translation unit where whatever comes in is turned into positive output, and you will find your own natural energy levels increasing. You'll actually have more energy available to you, but it's from a sustainable source. And it takes about 3 months for your adrenal glands to start to repair, and you really start to feel the benefits. So don't give up, keep going, and approach your repair of your kidney and adrenal energy, not all in, as in, I must do everything all at once, but take it steadily. Take a couple of days now to think over how you can make adjustments, and then slowly start to make adjustments to one thing at a time. So you're very welcome, Andrew. Yeah, just take it steady. And we've got a new moon coming up on the 25th of October. Maybe start thinking about a new lifestyle regime, making some changes, ready for a new beginning on the new moon. That energy will support you, and you'll feel really uplifted.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to me. My screen just froze, so I disappeared. So I should go back and to listen to what you were saying. But yeah,
Andrew asked a great question.
Yeah. So especially with the water, and I mean, I had many past lives, it feels like now, adrenal fatigue. And interestingly, my name is Andrena. So
there you go. Yep, it's all right there.
And one other thing was my middle names are RME, or were, I've changed them anyway. So, you know, when I look back, I think, oh my gosh, how these different things play a part in different ways, eh?
Oh yeah, definitely. And you
But
know,
you
in
could have been
addition,
born Andrew. You could have been born Andrew, and Andrew who's just on could have been Andrena too.
No.
Same play of words there.
Yeah, all right.
Let's have a look at your eyebrows. No, we're looking at your eyebrows now.
yeah. But you see, your eyebrows are lovely and high, Andrena, and they're almost can't really see because the way this screen's set up, but I would say they're probably more. No, they're not evil. They're more mountain
No,
eyebrows.
even.
You see, people are so self-critical of themselves. But yeah, so sometimes you can get mismatched eyebrows. So you get one that's maybe flat and another one that's arched, or one that's mountain and one that's rainbow. So, and this is all about how the face is formed with the two halves. Face read, Trina, Jeff. Ha ha ha. This is how the face is formed. In a nutshell, I've been doing it. So yeah, this is how the face is formed when you get things that don't quite line up. Your eyes may be slightly different, or your ears may be slightly different level, your eyebrows may be slightly different. It's all about how the face is formed, because in the early stages of facial development in the embryo, the face comes together in two halves. And sometimes those two halves don't quite match up perfectly. And that's why we get the mismatch or asymmetry.
Interesting, eh?
Oh, yeah.
So I believe you've got a course coming up for people, and you've got a special offer if anybody's interested. Would you like to share?
I would love to. As I mentioned right at the beginning, my journey through face reading has been expanded over the last 35 years. I continue to be a student of face reading, and it teaches me so much about myself and about my own callings and so on. And so it is fairly recently that I have recognized, through the feedback that I've been getting from my students, just the depths that the work that I do has gone to, and how it really does reveal the messages from the mind, body, heart, and soul, and how you can take those messages and really nourish your life. And so with the full moon that we just had, literally, I have rebranded what I offer under the name of Face Whispering. And this is to honor my own journey through the whole 35 years of my experience, but also to signify my own signature style of this skill and talent that anybody can learn and everyone can benefit from. So I've been putting together a new course on how you can get started becoming your own best friend with face whispering, basically. And it officially launches on October 25th, which is the new moon. However, I am putting the finishing touches on it presently. It is 2/3 ready to go, and it's available now for anybody who wants to jump on with the pre-launch special discount. Now, normally it's £97, and the special discount, because I'm still just building it out and adding the modules to it, only a couple more to go, which is going to be done today. Building it out, and so I'm offering a £20 discount, so it's just £77. And basically you have unlimited access. There's videos to watch, there's downloadable notes, there's the chance to really learn how to apply all of the gifts of face whispering that I want to share out of all my experience to your life, so you can know and grow yourself better, but also you can start to build your intuition better. You can help others. When you've got your confidence after plenty of practice, you can help others know themselves as well. And if you're in the kind of role where you are meeting with people, you can start to use your face whispering skills to bring more connection, create that better relationship, understand yourself and know others instantly without judgment, always with kindness and compassion. So it's a 7-module course, and I'm creating a bonus module, which is all about helping you use face whispering to build your intuition, your confidence, your self-belief, and just to rise above and shine. So I would love to share that with you, and it's ready to go. And like I say, I'm just finishing building it out right now. So it is completely available, and I just really thank the opportunity for sharing it, and just really lights me up inside. So thank you.
Oh, lovely. Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And I've learned so much more. So I'll be looking at people's eyebrows and things.
Yep. Eyebrows and ears. They're the easiest place to start. Yep. Easiest place to start.
Yeah. So it takes on a different ball game, so to speak. Yeah. Very, very, very interesting. So thank you so much for sharing. It's been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you both. Thank you. And thank you for the questions.
Very good.